Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us here another week. We're going to be talking a lot of sports this week. With the start of the NFL season, we're going to be looking at the teams, some area players that may have an effect upon the season. Going to have a special guest with me this week. Mike Anthony, longtime WTRF sports anchor, will be with me here today to talk NFL. Before we get into that, though, let's talk about our community champion. This week, it's Pat Duffy. I've known Mr. Duffy a long time. Does so many great things here in the community, but one that's coming up especially, he is the chair of the Wheeling Elks Lodge 28 Committee on Americanism, and he's organizing the 9/11 15th anniversary commemoration that's going to take place on 9/11, of course, at 2 p.m. at West Banco Arena in Wheeling. There's going to be patriotic music. There's going to be a speaker who was one of the first on the scene at the Pentagon in D.C. on 9/11, who's from this area originally. And Mr. Duffy's been working on this event for quite some time, over the last year or two, and he does a lot of things, helps out with the various events in town, is a supporter of Wheeling Central, very involved with the Elks, of course, and just an all-around great guy. So congratulations to Pat Duffy for organizing this event to commemorate 9/11, obviously something that was a very memorable, for the wrong reasons, event in this country, and looking forward to that event. So congratulations to him, his committee, for putting this together, and I hope as many people as possible can attend. He's our community champion this week on the Jamie Bordas Show. Our quote of the week, like we always have, and this week it is, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. Frequently heard Lou Holtz say this when I was a student at Notre Dame. He was, of course, the football coach my first 4 years on campus, and there's a lot of truth to that statement. So many times we focus on what has happened to us and dwell upon it and talk about it instead of responding to it in a positive way. It's important that we all remember that what has already happened has happened. That's past us. What we need to say is, what's next? What are we going to do about it? And how you respond to those things that happen so tremendously affect our lives and how they move forward. So remember, life is only 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond or react to it. If you can do that, I think you'll be a lot better off, a lot happier, and you're looking forward instead of backwards, which is where we always want to be headed in life. So that's our quote of the week here. Next up, our legal tip. This is one that is pertinent to what's going on in the local area right now, and that's have an attorney review your oil and gas lease before you sign. So many of the oil and gas leases are coming up for a renewal. Many of them have never been leased in the first place, many of the rights out there. So many people think, well, I can get this deal and that's what my neighbor got, so I should go ahead and sign this lease, because they look at the numbers and say, I'm going to get a 18% royalty and I'm going to get a $3,500 upfront bonus payment. That's what my neighbor got, so it must be okay. A lease is like any other contract. There's a lot of language in a lease that can affect what your rights are and what your obligations are under that lease, which again is a contract. It's important to know what things they can and can't do, that being the oil and gas industry that you lease your rights to, can and can't do at different periods. Can they deduct costs from the payments they make to you? Do they have a right to renew after so much period of time? What happens if they're not drilling? Do you have a right then to go lease with someone else at the end of a certain period of years? Do they have an automatic right of renewal? All of these different things, can they pull, can they not? All these different things go into that lease and can affect your rights and ultimately how much you receive for the rights that you're giving up, for the gas that's coming out of the ground, and what ultimately you're going to put into your pocket. We've also seen instances where people are not being paid appropriately because the lease says they're not allowed to deduct costs, but it turns out they are deducting costs. So very important to not just think, well, I can do this on my own. Some people can, if you're well versed in the industry for some particular reason, or if you have a friend or a family member who is. But oftentimes you do need an attorney for this, like many things when a contractual arrangement is at issue. Most people wouldn't go buy a house without having an attorney review the contract. Some would. Most people shouldn't have an oil and gas lease signed, but some it's okay. So take that lease, have someone take a look at it. Oftentimes the industry may pressure you and say, we need to know by tomorrow. Well, no, they don't necessarily need to know by tomorrow. They may be telling you that, but it can usually wait. They want you to sign before you have an opportunity to have a lawyer review it so they can get the better end of the deal as opposed to you. Take your time. They want that oil and gas that's down there in the ground. They're going to come back for it. They're not going to wait until just tomorrow. They're not going to start drilling tomorrow. They'll be there waiting because it's a valuable commodity to them, and they're going to want to get it out of the ground. So be patient. Make sure that you have it properly reviewed. Make sure that if you're taken advantage of in some way or your rights are not treated the way they should be, that you go to an attorney and see if you can have your rights properly enforced. And sometimes even if you've signed a bad deal, a lawyer can get you out of that bad deal if it's able to be demonstrated that you were taken advantage of in some way. And we've seen that especially with some older folks who maybe didn't understand what they were signing or were misled or various other reasons. So if you think you're in a bad deal, it doesn't hurt to have a lawyer take a look at it and see if there's a way out of that bad deal. That's our legal tip of the week. Stay with us when we come back. We're going to have Mike Anthony joining me here on the show. We'll be talking NFL as the season gets underway here before we know it. Stay with us on the Jamie Bordas Show.
So, how was your first day?
Mom. So, Josh asked me about you.
Daddy's home. Go get him.
For your home, for your life, for more than 50 years. The Hardwood Specialists, DeNoon Lumber.
Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration has been restoring homes after disasters for nearly 4 decades. Through that experience, we present Panhandle Custom Homes, Kitchens, and Baths. We handle your entire project, from concept to completion, working with you every step of the way. From the budget-minded upgrade
Many of our viewers always enjoyed hearing you talk sports. It's great to have you here talking sports. And let's start off right with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, Le'Veon Bell out, suspended first few games here. Martavis Bryant suspended for the year. Kind of a off season where the headlines were dominated by guys that are out.
Yeah, I mean, Martavis Bryant, I think, is going to be the big key out for the Steelers. I mean, they're expecting a huge year from Ben again, and Antonio Brown with that new money in his pocket, $10 million a year. Those two will be counted on heavily in the passing game, but having another option on the other side without Martavis Bryant, I think it's going to be a little tricky for the Steelers. It's so easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, Antonio Brown's going to have a huge year, but there's going to be some people looking out for 84 running through the middle of the field and down the sidelines this year. So yeah, I think Ben's going to have a huge year. I think Brown's going to have a huge year, but the numbers they've been putting up are so big. I don't know how they can go any higher. It's all set up for them to be good, but we'll see. I mean, Monday night's game is going to be awesome. Josh Norman playing corner against Antonio Brown. You'll see Brown go in motion or line up on one side. You're going to see 24 going with him. So going to be a heck of a matchup. The Redskins brought him in a lot of money to play cornerback, and mainly to guard 84 on opening night on Monday Night Football. It should be a lot of fun.
Interesting to see the Steelers kicking off on Monday Night Football. Of course, the early game, 6:55 start. There's 2 games that night. There'll be the West Coast game after that. But the Redskins, a team that, hasn't had tremendous success in recent years, but on the verge, and it'll be interesting to see who does step up on the other side of the field of Antonio Brown. Coates had a great, end of the year performance with Brown out, but who's going to step up now this year and be that receiver on the other side is a big question.
Well, Marcus Wheaton will be counted on heavily, and Darius Hayward-Bay, the wily veteran, is also there, and the tight end Jesse James, because Green is not available. That's another topic to get into at some point.
It really is, Mike. I mean, Heath Miller retires in the offseason. Obviously, somebody that could always bail Ben out. In a situation, it seemed like if Ben needed a first down, he could find Heath Miller and dump it off to him. But Heath retired somewhat unexpectedly, maybe. And they bring in Ladarius Green, who they think is going to be the replacement, and now he's facing injury and no real timetable for when he might return. Instead, now Jesse James, who really hasn't proven himself, is the tight end.
Well, he's looked pretty good in preseason. Again, it's preseason. David Johnson, his backup, been in the system for a while. Those are big run blockers first, pass catchers second as third and fourth options. Again, the Steelers have changed from a run-first team to a pass-first team. A lot like every team in the NFL. It's pretty much a touch football league now, where every pass interference and every replay is slowed down to make games at least 3 to 4 hours long. But the receiving core has to be good for Pittsburgh because that's where they put all their money, that's where they put all their resources. But right now the offensive line is the key, and they have a good one. But Marquise Pouncey's not hurt yet.
That's a big question.
Hope he stays healthy.
You got an all-pro center who doesn't seem to stay healthy. But the other thing is, you mentioned going from a run team to a pass team, but also Steelers, people thought defense for so many years, the steel curtain, Blitzburg, and now it's more of an offensive-minded team. But how's the defense going to do? The secondary's been so shaky in recent years, and will they be able to hold up against those teams that are throwing the ball against them?
I've got some notes here that I've taken about the Steelers secondary because they're going to need those young DBs to step up. Guys like Artie Burns, Sean Davis, they're both going to play, especially when they go to that nickel package and they have 5 defensive backs because they're going to be facing teams that throw. The Bengals are going to throw it all over the place again. The Browns are going to throw it all over the place again with Terrell Pryor now playing receiver and has done very well in the preseason. You'll be facing teams like the Colts who like to throw it all over the place with Andrew Luck. So, your DBs have to be your best players now. It's switched. The Steelers had the best linebackers, a great nose tackle and some ends, and put pressure on the quarterback. Now the quarterbacks are getting rid of it so quickly, a la Tom Brady, 1 step, 2 step, gone, never gets hit. To Ben, where he takes it back 7 steps and gets hit a lot and runs a lot. But the Steelers' defensive backs have to be very good this year because they're going to be facing a ton of passes, and there's going to be a ton of pass interference calls and a ton of holding calls. That's just the way the NFL is these days.
And of course, in the draft, the Steelers really did. You mentioned some guys like Burns and Davis, who they really focused on and went after in the draft and spent high draft picks on them. Of course, just brought in the corner from Cleveland, Gilbert, who's had injury problems himself there in Cleveland and was a first-round pick, but never really got his career off the ground there. And we'll see if he can contribute as well.
The linebackers are good. Lawrence Timmons, Moats, a couple of the other.
Still got James Harrison out there.
Harrison's on the outside. He might have something to prove and a chip on his shoulder. So I think they're going to be good, but it just seems like they're never used because everything's always in the secondary and thrown over their heads. And when a quarterback gets rid of the football against the Steelers, you can beat them. We'll see what Kirk Cousins can do against the Steelers on Monday night. It's going to be interesting. I like the matchup for the Steelers. I think they're going to win their opener.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll keep talking NFL and talk about some of the local products you might see. Stay with us on the Jamie Bordas Show.
Every day, more than 70,000 puppies and kittens are born in the United States. Just one female can contribute more than 2 million offspring in 8 years. At the Tiffany DeLess Spay and Neuter Clinic, we are trying to help. We offer reduced cost services to income qualified families from all over the Ohio Valley. We understand that the cost of owning a pet can be overwhelming, and that stress multiplies when they do. Call the Tiffany DeLess Spay and Neuter Clinic or visit us online to find out if we can help you.
Fighting for homeowners.
Fighting for workers.
Fighting for children.
Fighting for mineral owners.
Fighting for patients.
Fighting for policyholders.
Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking NFL football here this week as the season's upon us. And with me is Mike Anthony, longtime sports anchor here at WTRF. And Mike, we've got some local products that are involved in the NFL as players now. One of them is from Wheeling, C.J. Goodwin, who has made the team for the Atlanta Falcons.
You know, hats off to C.J. Goodwin. Here's a kid who played locally at Lindsley and never wanted to play football. He went to play basketball at Division III Bethany and didn't know where his career would take him. Thanks to a mutual family friend, Mel Blunt, he had a tryout with the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of years ago. That landed him a spot on their practice squad. He opened some eyes. Steelers parted ways with him. Voila, he's with Atlanta in spring training, and now he's listed as a backup cornerback and made the squad as a corner. And that is unbelievable to see from a guy who, when he left Lindsley, wanted to play basketball for a future. Now he's going to be making a lot of money in the NFL and hopefully continues to impress in the NFL.
Yeah, you know, it really is interesting. You know, a guy that shows what kind of athlete he is. But here's a guy that not only didn't really focus on football, but then once he did and went to the Steelers, he was on the Steelers practice squad as a receiver. And now he's been able to make the transition that quickly to cornerback and make the 53-man roster for the Atlanta Falcons as a cornerback. So, I mean, you talk about an athlete, basketball, football, switching from receiver to corner, just shows you what kind of talent he has.
And you know, from coaching high school football, kids can make a transition, and kids do play both ways a lot, especially on your team at Wheeling Central. But to do it at that level, it's easier said than done, and hats off to C.J. Goodwin, because you're going to be making a lot of Atlanta Falcon fans up here. A couple of weeks ago or so, when they played Miami and Akil Blunt was on the Dolphins at the time, it was nice to see those two on opposite sidelines, and that was really interesting. So it made a preseason NFL game a little more interesting than it should have been.
Of course, you mentioned Akil Blunt. He did not make the roster for the Miami Dolphins, but is looking to get onto a practice squad somewhere, and hopefully he'll get on there. Another Lindsley product, of course, Mel Blunt's son, who was a great player, Hall of Famer for the Pittsburgh Steelers on their Super Bowl teams of the 70s, but it'd be great to see Akil make a team too. That
would be nice. I mean, I think he deserves a shot. There's a lot of injuries coming. I think someone will grab him soon. He has the body and the pedigree, and I think someone will grab him pretty soon.
Had a monster season against game against Wheeling Central in 2011. I can remember trying to stop him, and he was pretty unstoppable. What a body out there! He was playing tight end kind of receiver, and tough to stop with his size and speed.
Absolutely, especially if the ball's delivered correctly.
Another OVAC product, Derek Wolfe, of course, not just trying to make the team, but in the offseason he won the Super Bowl for the Broncos in January, playing on the defensive line, and then signed a 4-year, $36.7 million deal right after the Super Bowl. Or actually maybe right before the Super Bowl in January, and is now, of course, still with the Broncos, and they'll be looking to repeat this year. But great to see Derek doing so well.
And we don't consider Derek a, quote, local guy, being from Wheeling. OVAC does stretch up to Beaver local, where he's from, but folks who are in this neck of the woods down here in Wheeling don't get to see a lot of Derek Wolfe, don't know a lot about Derek Wolfe, but you know, he was a great player at Beaver local, much better play at the University of Cincinnati when he played there with Zach Collaros, another former Big Red player. And then he really has done wonders in the NFL. Think about that, Jamie. He's a Super Bowl champion. There aren't many of those that hail from the OVAC in this area. But Derek Wolfe, hats off. He got paid, and he got a ring.
Yeah, good for him. And, you know, a couple of local college favorites. Carl Joseph from WVU, of course, taken the first round by the Raiders, be a defensive back there. And then Zeke Elliott, one of the many Ohio State players taken, but will be with the Cowboys. And people I know eager to see how he makes that transition from Ohio State to the Dallas Cowboys. So that'll be fun to watch as well. But, you know, one of the big stories for week one is who won't be playing here in the NFL. No Tom Brady. He's suspended for the Deflategate scandal. No Peyton Manning, he retired. No Tony Romo, hurt again. So 3 of the marquee quarterbacks, you know, from years past won't be suiting up here in week one of the 2016 NFL season.
First time since '97 you won't see Brady or Manning on opening weekend of the NFL. I'm not a big Patriots fan, but you know how they are. 4 games without Brady. I see him winning 3. They probably shouldn't, but that's what happens with the Patriots. They use a lot of players who you don't really hear of or know of, or guys who are low draft picks that come in and just set the world on fire. Brady has made a lot of players a lot of money. We'll see if Garoppolo can do the same thing. in New England. But, no Brady, no Manning. I don't really care. Cam Newton will certainly carry the torch as the next new star quarterback in the NFL. We always got old reliable Aaron Rodgers down in Green Bay. Russell Wilson still out there on the West Coast. I mean, there's a lot of stars here for NFL weekend, opening weekend.
Don't forget about that guy in Indy too, Andrew Luck. I'd be interested to see what kind of season he has, and
And Terry Bradshaw calls number 7 in Pittsburgh the best quarterback in the NFL right now. But Ben disagrees. Read something about that. Very interesting. But Roethlisberger will be knocking on 50,000 yards at the end of this season. Only 6 quarterbacks have that many in NFL history.
And he's had some injuries that have kept him out, of full seasons at times, and he has been tremendous over the years, and of course has the Super Bowl rings to show for it. So it will be great to see what Big Ben does this year, and it'd be great if he can stay healthy throughout the year. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue talking sports. We'll give our Sports Person of the Week award, and we'll make our Super Bowl picks here on the Jamie Bordas Show. Stay with us.
At Progressive Bank, our loan process is unique. It's personal. Our local lenders ease your mind and help you get the loan you need and deserve. Progressive Bank, personal bankers with millions to lend to local families and businesses. Come in, Ohio Valley. We're lending.
People always ask me what it means to be a dealer for the people. For the people is a simple idea. It means we believe that everybody deserves to drive a nicer, newer car. This belief drives the entire team at Robinson Auto Group to care more, to try harder, and to work smarter. Whatever's keeping you from driving that car you want, I guarantee we'll try our best to help you. We're Robinson Auto Group, and we're the dealer for the people.
Progressive Bank understands borrowing money can be a daunting experience. Our local lenders ease your mind and help you get the loan you need and deserve. Progressive Bank, personal bankers with millions to lend to local families and businesses. Come in, Ohio Valley. We're lending.
Welcome back to the show. We've been talking NFL football, and we'll continue to do that on the show. But first, it's time to award our Sports Person of the Week, like we do every week. And this week, it is Union Local product, now WVU football player, Colton McKivitz, who had a big role in last weekend's win against Missouri. Starting lineman goes down. Colton steps right in, does a great job clearing the way for the WVU offense, and he'll now be in the starting role. And great to see a local guy from Morristown, Ohio, go on to WVU and be playing such a role on that team's offense in the Big 12. Mike, you covered Colton McKivitz while he was playing at Union Local, and great to see him doing so well.
Yeah, it was funny the quote that Holgerson gave in the post-game, because they gave him a lot of credit in the post-game press conference after the opener, and the announcers certainly gave him a lot of press too, because he was going up against a kid who could be an NFL player here down the road. I covered a lot of McKivitz's games. I used to interview him all the time. Of course, I'm a longtime OVAC basketball official, so I refereed a bunch of his games when he played at Union Local on those great teams that Ben Porter had out there. Of course, Coach Holgerson called him a long-haired basketball player. He goes, he didn't do too badly for a long-haired basketball player. And Colton did have some long, crazy hair when he played high school basketball at Union Local. And you would look at the guy and say, well, he does have a huge body. He can play. He can run the floor. But does that translate to the Big 12? And I know there's a lot of doubters out there. I may have been one of them recently until you really started to look at what they have coming back and where he was on the depth chart, behind a couple of players. Voila, injury in week 1. He comes in, does an incredible job. I love it. I know his mother Wendy's super excited to see Colton playing. I didn't think we'd see him this quickly, but here he is, 53, playing left tackle for the Mountaineers for the foreseeable future. And let's hope he stays healthy, because they're going to need him to.
So congratulations to Colton McKivitz, our Sports Person of the Week here on the Jamie Bordas Show. We'll continue to keep an eye on him and wish he and the Mountaineers well as the season continues on. Let's get back to NFL football, Mike, where we've been most of the show, and it's time to make our picks for the Super Bowl. And, I'm looking at, the AFC first, a little bit of a homer pick, but I'm going to go with the Steelers.
You homer.
Well, they're my team. my law firm has a partnership with them. I got to make sure that I'm supporting them, and I do. I have my whole life, and I'll continue to do that. Any year that they have a chance, I'll probably pick them. But I think they're going to come out of the AFC for a couple reasons. One, the high-powered offense. Number two, I think that when Bell comes back, he's going to be hungry to do well. I think he's going to have, when you have Big Ben, Antonio Brown all together, which didn't really happen, but for maybe less than a game last year. Yeah. I think when you have them all together, they'll be extremely difficult to stop. So I'm going to go with the Steelers out of the AFC. I'm going to take Seattle in the NFC, and really for two reasons. Russell Wilson, experienced, he's been there, he's done it. Of course, they always seem to have a great defense in Seattle. Pete Carroll, experienced coach, had success at USC in the college ranks, has had great success in Seattle. Didn't have so much success his first time around the NFL with New England, but doing a great job in Seattle, and the players seem to love playing for him. So I'm going to pick Seattle to come out of the NFC, and I'll take the Steelers over Seattle in the Super Bowl, of course. Super Bowl 51 this year, we played down in Houston. So it'd be, I think a great place for a Super Bowl and a great place for a Steelers win.
You're not alone with that pick. A lot of people are taking the Steelers. I'll take the Steelers, of course, because who else can come out of the AFC? New England, of course. When Brady gets back, they're going to win several games without him, I'm sure. Maybe even win them all without him. You just look up every Sunday and expect New England to win, because that's what they do. Who else is going to come out of the AFC? Denver, no quarterback, great defense. Cincinnati, they haven't won a playoff game in years. Pittsburgh has that great offense, but again, it's August. And at some point, we're going to see Zach Mettenberger in there for the Steelers at some point this year, and hopefully he can win a game or two, and that's all that's needed. And Pittsburgh can win 10 in a row. They've won 10 games. They won 10 games 2 seasons in a row. So I think they're going to win 10 games again, maybe 11. I pick them to go to the Super Bowl. But can I take two teams in the NFC? Can I take Green Bay and Carolina, like 1A, 1B? I just think Green Bay, has that great quarterback, and with Jordy Nelson coming back, they're going to be there in the end. It's all about quarterback play in the NFL, and Cam Newton's team was unbelievable last year. Defense weakened with the loss of Josh Norman. We'll see. I like Carolina. I like Green Bay.
I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Pick one, Green Bay or Carolina?
Yeah, Green Bay.
All right, and then who wins it all?
The Steelers. I have to go with the Steelers, or they're going to win another one.
There you have it.
If they're healthy, but it's August. It's still hot, and when it's freezing cold and snowing are when the biggest games are going to be played. So we will see what happens in December and January.
So there you have it. Mike and I, of course, both take the Steelers.
What homers.
We are, but I'll tell you what, you got to go with them. And Mike, thanks for being here today on the show. It's great to have you here and talking NFL football, and we'll keep an eye on this, and maybe we'll get you back on here as the season progresses.
Okay, we've got those written down, right?
Yeah, we got them there.
All right.
Hey, thanks to all of you for watching this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week on the Jamie Bordas Show.
When accidents like this happen, get someone you can trust to fix it. Since 1994, L. Nelson Interiors has been providing professional drywall and plaster repair services to the Ohio Valley area. Known for high-quality workmanship, dependability, and honesty, we can handle any project, any size. So if you're ready to make your walls and ceilings look brand new, call L. Nelson Interiors at 740-310-1081 or visit us online at lnidrywall.com.
Keep an eye out for the Storm Tracker 7 vehicle, powered by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Want the latest road conditions? Don't miss the Road Report each weekday morning in the WTRF 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. news. Brought to you by Lori Grizel State Farm.
Hi, Daddy.
Who is this?
Your daughter?
Well, my daughter's asleep. I kissed her goodnight almost 2 hours ago.
When are you and Mommy coming home?
There are times when we make history, and there are times when history makes us.
Kiefer Sutherland is...
Sir, you are now the President of the United States.
The Designated Survivor. Series premiere Wednesday, September 21st on ABC.
Check out the Marshall County Co-op Weather Ride, high atop Grandview Park during 7 News.